Okay, sports fans, welcome. Glad to be back with you. It's been a while. I went to the No Kings rally about a week ago, and unfortunately, I spent a couple of hours outside, so I got really sick, and I haven't been out since. But I want to highlight something. So today's going to come across as a little more political, but it really does have a mental health theme. So I want to talk about the lies that are being shared. And when I upload the video from the No Kings rally, I need to finish some editing on that. When I upload that, it's going to be based on this same topic, and that is we're being lied to. And the lies actually are used to manipulate and hurt us, but it also brings us a lot of depression, anxiety, other mental health issues. So the first thing I noted when I was talking with people out there was, and I've got one interview and specifically highlighted this, we're being told that when we disagree, we're enemies. The truth is, we can disagree without being enemies. As a matter of fact, we can disagree and still be friends. John Gottman, Dr. John Gottman did a lot of research on this, and he says that especially when you look at couples, 69% of all disagreements that you have in the first year of marriage maintain throughout the whole of marriage. Disagreement has nothing to do with the quality of relationships. How you treat each other when you disagree has everything to do with the quality of relationships. Robert Kennedy made a comment about the fact that you don't understand people by how they talk about their values. You talk to them, you understand them by how they talk about their opponents. Robert Kennedy has a quote that I used in another video that you don't understand somebody based on how they talk about their values or ideas. You understand them based on how they talk about their opponents. And right now, we're being used and manipulated, and people are talking to us about how we're supposed to think, feel, and believe about our opponents, when the truth is they're not our opponents. They're our countrymen. They're our fellow citizens of this country, this world. They're our neighbors, our friends. And we don't have to hate them because they disagree. Their feeling, thinking, understanding things a certain way has nothing to do with us. It has to do with them. How we treat each other when we disagree says everything about us. So why do people come along and lie and manipulate us and do this when it really says nothing about us? Well, that's because it gives them power and control. All the way back through history, when somebody wanted to gain power and control, especially political and military control, the first thing they would do is they would create an enemy. So all this talk about who is our enemy and what we should do and how we should think about them, giving them names and labels that devalue them or dehumanize them as human beings. As Kierkegaard said, if you label me, you negate me. So those who want control of us, those who want to control us, manipulate us, they first give us an enemy, then give us language and stuff that dehumanizes them to the point where we would do things that we would never do to who we consider to be our fellow human beings. As soon as they can get us to do things that go beyond our own moral standards, they control us. We should stop these lies. They're not true. They don't tell the truth about other human beings. They don't tell the truth about us. There's a great channel I like to watch. I just type in SOC 119. The professor talks to his class and stuff, and this is a fantastic group and everything. But he really encourages them for critical thinking. Critical thinking is the ability to examine your own assumptions. But in this, he talks about the fact that they did a study and they asked Democrats what they believe about Republicans and Republicans what they believe about Democrats. And the question was, how much do you believe that the opposite side thinks that it's okay to use violence in order to stop their opponents? In this, about 45% of Democrats believed that, and on this, they asked the question, how much do you believe that you're a political? And in this lesson, he asked, and in this class, he brought up a study that had asked Republicans and Democrats what they thought about the opposing side. And the question was this: how much do you believe your political opponents think that it's okay to use violence in order to shut down discourse or language? And the study showed that when asked of Democrats, about 45% believed that Republicans thought that it was okay to use violence to shut them down. When they asked Republicans, they said about 42% of Democrats believe it's okay to use violence to shut people down. But when they asked how many of you actually believe it's okay, only about 2% said that they thought violence was okay. So we have this conflated image because of the media, because of these negative news stories that are being put out, because we're being flooded with so many negative images and sites through the news, social media, and just this constant barrage. We have this wildly inflated belief about the other side. And what I said when I was having the conversation at the No Kings rally is right now it's a lie. If we continue to believe it, we can make it the truth. And this is the problem. We need to not be manipulated. We need to not accept the lies. If you believe something, you need to go out and ask. Talk, understand. We need to have this discourse. It needs to be there. But I'm going to say this. One of the things that I'm seeing right now is they say we're having this great discourse, but what you really have is a bunch of people getting online, YouTube, TikTok, and things like that, by going on and putting on these things saying, debate me, I don't want to debate. I don't want to challenge. I want a discussion. A debate is trying to force somebody else to change their view or opinion. So I would try to go out and make somebody think differently. I don't think that's violent, because violence is defined as physical aggression. But I do think that's aggressive. Rather than using aggression that leads to violence, why don't we just pull back, and instead of trying to make somebody else believe us, why don't we just create room and understand them? I don't need you to change my mind. I don't need to prove my point. I don't need to get somebody else to see something different. What if we just sit down and have a discussion? Now, this happened when I went out and talked at the No Kings rally, but there was still defensiveness. And one of the things that was noted was the person I was interviewing said, do you know how long I've been doing this? I've been doing this for years, and nobody's listening. The problem isn't that we're not convincing enough. The problem is we're not heard enough. Rather than getting better at debating, maybe it would do more for our society if we just got better at listening. Here's the other key to this. If you're truly listening to others, you're going to find out 45% of any group, no group, they don't think violence is okay. They think they're scared. They think they're hurt. They think they're being attacked. So let's quit attacking. Let's quit proving. Let's quit justifying. Let's quit arguing. And let's get together and listen. I don't have to agree with you, but I can sit down and listen to you and let you feel heard. Now, I'm going to go into this soon. If you really hear somebody, you're going to find that anger decreases, depression decreases, anxiety decreases, because these things happen when people feel helpless, hopeless, and unheard. So let's help people feel heard. Let's help people feel understood. We don't have to agree with them, but let's provide space for them to feel valuable in our society and in our lives. Now, I said this had a mental health viewpoint. First off, if you believe that something outside of you controls you, you're going to feel bad. I'm going to probably say it wrong, but I'm going to try and get this, and I'll put it up there as a quote. Kierkegaard said, "The unhappy person is the one who has his ideal, his sense of self, his fullness of consciousness, the fullness of his being somehow outside himself." When we believe that other people control our value, our worth, our understanding, our power in ourselves and in our own life and our own situations, when we feel that this power is outside of ourselves, we feel anxious, we feel sad, and I think this is why we have such a depression epidemic. And I don't use this term lightly. Normally when I hear the word epidemic, I cringe a little bit because I feel like people are using it in order to just accentuate a point or to get something across. But in this case, we have a significant increase in the prevalence of depression in our society. Stephen Alardi had an absolutely fantastic presentation called "Depression is the Disease of Civilization." And in this, he showed a graph to help us understand a radical increase in depression in just the last couple of generations. Americans 60 and above, only 10% of the population has ever had an occurrence where they met the criteria for a depressive episode. Yet those 18 to 30, more than 25% have now shown at least one occasion where they met criteria for depression. We are doing something wrong in our society that has a negative impact on us. And I got to tell you, I think it's these lies. We're making the world sound so much worse when in truth we have so much more. We have more time, we have more resources, we have more ways to connect, and we feel more helpless, more hopeless, less blessed, and less valuable than we ever have. Since this is not the truth, we know it's lies. And I think these lies are intentional. I don't think there's a conspiracy because that takes intelligent coordination. I'm going to always bet on the side of stupid greed and selfishness than I am over intelligent coordination, because I've seen a lot more stupid greed and selfishness in my life than I have intelligent coordination. But there are those who are trying to take advantage of the negatives in this world for their own empowerment, their own financial gain, their own social and political power. The way to combat this is not by fighting each other, believing the lies, and attacking one another or attacking ourselves, but by going out and talking, connecting with others, understanding others, actually obtaining the truth for ourselves by setting aside our bias long enough to just listen. And you don't have to change your mind. The truth is, you'll find that if you listen to people, even though you disagree with them, there's more humanity and understanding there than you thought there was before. You can absolutely disagree without hate. Again, you go back to relationships. 69% of disagreements are perpetual. They never change. But we lovingly learn to connect, understand, and work with each other with our differences and create seriously good and enjoyable, loving, and healthy relationships. My challenge to you, to each one of you, is to just take a little more time to listen to each other than we do to try to force agreement from each other. You're going to find that your life becomes better instantly, and the lives of everyone around you becomes better very, very quickly when each of you takes a little more time to listen than you do to preach. Thanks.